Welcome to HIVE Nurse, Inside the Hive, a podcast where we look to try and uncover today's professional hardships and talk about it in real time. I'm Ashley Kellish.
I'm Elizabeth Walters.
All right, Elizabeth, I'm very excited today.
Okay.
We're going to move forward from burnout, which is a really fantastic topic and something that we love to talk about with all of you and hear all of your stories of what's hard out there. But today we're going to go one more level deeper. We're going to start talking about moral injury.
Gasp.
Yes. Well, it is a gasp, right? I mean, this is a really challenging topic out there. And it's one that, as we were building for today, we actually said this is the word that has really been silenced and not really called out in our profession. But I have good news. Can I share it now?
Go ahead.
Okay. I've been dying to share this. So just this month alone, just a few days ago, the American Psychiatric Association actually formally named moral injury as something that people who have mental health concerns right now can be a part of their diagnosis. Oh. It's a real thing.
I'm going to diagnose every patient with it.
Yes. No,
every nurse gets a diagnosis of moral injury.
And jokes aside, seriously, this is very important for us to recognize because for so long, this topic was something that, again, would be brushed off or would just, maybe even people would just end it with, well, you must be burnt out. Take a break. Go find something else to do.
How about do some yoga?
Oh, yes. Self-care.
Here's a pizza party.
Yes, right. Exactly. Yeah. But now we have even the backing of the APA telling us that, no, this is legitimate. And it's also coupled with PTSD. I won't go down that path because I am not equipped to. But what I do know from my reading is that it is coupled with PTSD, but it's separate. But it can be added on to the diagnosis. So now this is something real that we're going to have to talk about.
It is. It's
real. In our professions.
Definitely. So let's set the stage a little bit. Us nerds, we love our facts. So research shows that as many as 75% of healthcare workers have experienced morally injurious events at work.
Yes. Well, that's why we finally have to talk about it.
Yeah. It's not just that tough day. It's not just that dude, it sucked. The ECMO pump exploded while I was there, right? There are moments when your core values are colliding with the system. And the consequences are profound, right? We think about guilt, shame, anger, loss of trust, even questioning your whole career.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what's really powerful about it is that this is when what you're doing every day, you can't get past certain things because it literally goes against the soul of who you are and digs at your being, your central being of who you are.
Yeah, totally.
I do know that it started in the military is where the concept came from.
Okay.
Which I also
always trust the military.
Well, I mean, truly, they have uncovered a lot of what we see today as great ways of engaging in teams, as defining the challenges, right, that are out there. I do find it interesting, though, that we're once again referring back to a group that's looking at war zones for our own healthcare industry and for how nurses function and don't function today. It is a battle out there. It does feel that way sometimes.
Especially when you have to turn a 90-year-old sundowner.
Yes, I can imagine. Yes, I've only worked in pediatrics, thankfully. And so my turns were usually a lot easier than that. But no, I think it's thrilling and we're able to actually define this. Apparently, now that nurses and doctors are able to stand up and say what I'm doing goes directly against my values and I can't give the patients the care that I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
We now have this term, moral injury.
Yeah, we totally do. So getting back to those facts, right? So a recent study hot off the presses, not as hot as the DSM diagnosis.
Very exciting.
But was a study of ICU nurses that found the most common causes of moral injury were leadership failures.
Oh, yes.
Lack of resources and financial priorities outweighing clinical ones.
Yes.
Nurses said it wasn't just about the stress. It was that dissonance between what they believed in and what their institution demanded.
Well, and it's like when we talked about before, feeling as though nursing or just your hospital or your healthcare environment is really only focused on the bottom line. Yes. And when you feel that way and you're going in and day out to actually provide hands-on care, that's what can cause this injury. I remember when I think back to my early career where I initially, now looking back, felt this. And I remember an instance where we had a child who was on their way out for sure, to the point where, it just, their skin was no longer even staying on their body. That's how.
I've seen babies like that in the NICU.
Yes. And they were very, very sick, and the time had come, but we could not get their family to really understand this. And I will never judge that, right? I was not in that position. And I'm sure many of you recognize that time frame where the family and the care team are just not on the same page. So at that time, I was actually working as an educator, and I called the ethics team because I said, we need to have another voice in here. We're not doing it. Our physicians aren't doing this. No one is connecting to the patient. And do you know what happened? I got in trouble. I got in trouble for calling the ethics consult. And I felt awful because I was trying to help and to get this child to the next phase. And instead, I was basically reamed out for calling in a third party
Please tell me that was a physician that reamed you out.
It was a physician, and they felt like they had it under control, but they weren't seeing the moral dissonance that these nurses coming in and out of that room in tears. They were in
single
tears.
day.
And so I was trying to protect the team. It ended up, fast forward, we were able to do what we needed to do within the next 24 hours or so. But I remember going back to that physician and saying, I was following my belief system. And we became great friends after that. I do think she trusted me differently then, but that was really hard.
I mean, it sucks when people do that kind of stuff.
And that was a long time ago. And I still remember, I can still feel like that red neck that I would get during when I had to be told you shouldn't have called them. But think about every instance that's happening for our teams today. They're going in and things are just against their values, and it's weighing on them.
Yeah. I mean, I have experienced the moral injury as well. Ashley was very privy to all of the tearful phone calls.
Oh, yes.
The person who has no emotions was definitely
very
experiencing moral injury. And it came from...
She needed my relational leadership qualities to come in and help her.
No, I did not need relational leadership. I was totally fine. I had it all together. I did need a therapist, but that was okay.
Yes.
But it came from not a nursing environment. This was a big institution, and it was really prestigious. I'll just say that without giving away too much of the details. But I was constantly put in positions where I had to address ethical issues. These issues were not created by us, the staff. It was created by leadership, and it was bending the rules to kind of fit their narrative or to advance their own personal agendas. Yes. And I could really see the clarity that decisions were not about those practicing nurses or the patients. They were about politics, optics, and personal gain for those leaders that I worked with. And it really ate at me. It was, I mean, you remember how awful it was for me.
I mean, I think it eats at all of us, right? And that's the creation of a toxic work environment. And that moral injury is when it layers upon layers upon layers. And it's little decisions, it's little things that you might not think about. But then when it's happening day in and day out, or you're seeing it over and over again in all of the aspects of your work, that's when it starts to really weigh on you in a way that can become dangerous.
Yeah, for sure. I actually just recently saw a nurse who's like us, a little bit on the older side.
Experienced.
Sure, whatever. But she'd been in healthcare for 20 years as well. And she'd been at the same hospital for 20 years. And that is rare nowadays.
Yes, it is.
That is very
rare. Most hospitals, the average nurse has less than 3 years of experience.
I totally believe that.
Out. Mm-hmm.
And we were chatting. We were just catching up. We were like, dude, what's up? And she was like, I'm just done with nursing. My hospital only cares about the bottom line. I'm so sick of understaffing. I'm so sick of my patients not getting the things that they need. And she only stays for the patients. That's it.
And I hear that a lot. And then I also hear people only staying for the retirement, which I think to me is a next level of feeling so disconnected from the work, but feeling trapped by what you have to have in order to live in today's world. And no one should have to feel that way in nursing when we are doing and giving of ourselves the most beautiful gift, which is to care for others, right? When you really think about it.
Did you know nurses' lifespans are shorter than other people?
No, but I can believe that.
Yeah.
100% with the stress.
So, Ashley,
yes,
how do we identify moral injury?
Well, this is a really interesting topic, and I actually taught a wonderful workshop with a colleague out of another organization that was able to offer it for free to nurses across our state. It's called Stress First Aid. And one image that sticks with me, also from the military, is that it was a gas tank, and it showed kind of the amount of gas you have in your tank, and it was highlighting all of these things that you start to feel when the gas is low in your tank.
Yes.
And it was just a really nice image to say, okay, when I feel exhausted, when I feel cynical, when I feel out of touch with myself, when other people are noticing that I am no longer acting the way I normally do, like let's say I wasn't positive, you might get concerned.
I would be very concerned if she wasn't glass half full.
Yes, but on a patient care unit, this looks like the nurse who's making mistakes or snapping at people uncharacteristically. These are signs of moral injury, and it's signs that now are bubbling to the top. And what I love about Stress First Aid, not to give it a thing, but it's free, it's out there for everybody, is that it has a color wheel. So you start to look at it from green, yellow, orange to red. And it says, we're allowed to, as nurses, it's a stressful environment. Yeah. We know that. We know that going into it.
Super stressful.
But when you start to live in that orange and red zone, and the stress is so much that it's changing who you are, and it's eating at you and putting layers and layers of this injury, just like a wound on your skin, or an infection brewing. That's when it becomes dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, we think about it as a nurse practitioner. I think about my patients, and it's normal to be a little anxious, right? It's normal to be a little anxious. That helps protect us.
Yes.
But it's when that anxiety really knifes in at your ability to function, right?
Exactly.
So
same thing.
This is the same thing, right? So if you're always in the red on your color wheel with the rainbow, that's a very Ashley thing.
Yes, it's very visual.
When you're in that red all the time, it's hard to function.
Yes. Well, actually, it does call attention to red means you need a therapist. You need help outside of.
Everybody needs therapy.
Yeah, it's true. We all do.
Yes.
We all do. But it does give that data point. And what, moral injury, I think, is probably experienced differently by each one of us. We can't. What's harmful to me may not be harmful to you. You may not see that as a challenge, but it's self-awareness, recognizing it in yourself, and allowing others to recognize it in you, so that when you are going down that path, for me, it's instead of leaving the profession, we find a way to keep you, and we find a way to work through the challenges that are happening. Right. Especially as leaders, that's what I believe is my job.
And also not implementing policies that directly go against people's moral values.
Yes, exactly. Like asking you, for example, to do something that you 100% don't believe in, but then are told you don't have a choice.
It happens every day. Not every day. A lot of times. So I think it's important to talk about pathways to healing.
Yes, because I do think we can heal from this. And I think, number one, recognizing it is key. But I think that there are even just some grassroots way that you can work with your teams, or if you're a leader listening, that you can build out on your teams to help heal from the moral injury that exists. One of the first things that I would say is call it out. Call attention to it.
Yeah, totally.
Bring it to light. Tell people that this is real, that we understand that the way we function in healthcare today, or the workplace violence that exists, which you have patients you have to care for, but sometimes they're just terribly angry and violent and upset, but you still have to provide what kind of care you can. And you have to call attention to that, and you have to put policies and procedures in place that are helping to guide and protect those teams for instances like that.
Yeah, but it's important to note that the healing is not all our responsibility, right? It can't just be pushed down to nurses. Those leaders, they got to show up. They shouldn't be showing up just for the camera moments, right? Like with I know you're on the CNO track, but I won't pick on too many CNOs.
Yes, there are some great ones out there.
There are some great ones out there, but there are some ones that only show up when they have their fancy schmancy white coat on.
Yes.
And there's a trail, I like to call them the ducklings, a trail of ducklings behind them that's snapping pictures for the Instagram for the hospital, right? And you're like, dude, I haven't seen you in a year and a half, and I've been working here for 15 years.
Well, it's like show up when there is no camera.
Right.
Show up
Totally.
and ask people what's going on. And the other thing I would say from a leadership perspective, because I think too, I think leaders experience moral injury. And I think when leaders feel like they can't fix a problem or their hands are tied in a certain situation, it's just as hard for them. But when teams and staff hear that it's hard for you too as a leader and that you're struggling too, that is so validating. So modeling vulnerability, being authentic, saying how hard it is, but then asking those teams, here's what I do. I ask the people doing the work what we need to do to fix it. And then I go out and get it fixed. And it's not always perfect. And sometimes it takes longer than I want. But when the people doing the work help you to make the right choice for what to do next, that's when you have the best answers on the other side.
Yeah. And also leaders need to really advocate for their teams, right? Like they're the ones that are getting that FaceTime with the CNO. And maybe it's about bringing that nurse in to tell that story so the CNO really understands.
Yes. And getting at the truth and the root of all of it. I do believe we can heal from moral injury. And I think with the APA recognizing it, we'll have more access to programs.
Maybe there'll be a moral injury medicine.
Oh, there might be.
I don't think so.
I mean, it could just be this too.
Yeah.
Right? Talking it out.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
Go on a podcast.
Go start a podcast.
Start a podcast.
That's helping with my moral injury. I feel like I'm doing something about it by talking about it.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to know it's not weakness. I think it means that there's something broken and that we have to continue banding together, which is the whole point of the Hive, is to come together and try and fix what's broken.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys for joining us on Hive Nurse live inside the Hive.
Hopefully we shared some stories that got you thinking about, in particular, moral injury. And then a few strategies. We'll always be coming up with more on how to work through the difficulty in our profession today.
And please follow us on all the socials.
All of them.
Yeah. The TikTok.
I can't name them, but...
She calls Facebook the face place.
The face place. And there's a market book, too, or something, right?
Marketplace. Yeah, there is, for sure.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.